assignments with Leshay Pillay. Today I'll be taking you through my POE, specifically part 2 of my POE for semester 1 programming. So let us navigate to the NetBeans. As you can see, here we have my main class. And in the main class, this is where my part 2 begins. Before this is all part 1. And here we can just see all my variables, the main big picture if this, which allows the application to actually begin. Then we can see the features of the application here, and as well as a whole bunch of additional features that our application allows for, which is storing messages, deleting messages, and writing them to a JSON file as well as creating a whole bunch of message information for each specific message that gets sent. And yeah, that basically sums up the main class for part 2. We can also see the other two features here if they would not like to send messages, obviously. A feature that is still in development, as well as if the user just wants to end the application. And then if we navigate here to our messages class, we can see variables as well, and a bunch of new imports that we don't usually would use, but it's for a specific method to write our messages to a text file, not a text file, a JSON file. Here we can see all our methods. This is a Boolean method, string method. We can see how all of it works. It just returns string methods. Here's just some simple code attribution, and here's like a method that creates specific things like a message hash. Here's the actual creation. Then we obviously have features just for the user's sake to understand how the application working. Then we have printing messages, which stores the variables / messages into an array and counts them for us. And then we have this specific, then we have this one that actually counts the messages for us. And then we have this method store messages, which makes use of a new type of import, which is JSON. Here we can just see some code attribution, but essentially this method just creates a JSON array. It as well as creates a file. It also writes all our messages that have been stored in our JSON array to a JSON file called storage. As we can see, it just adds the items, which is essentially messages. Okay, that is that for our messages class. Then we can see this is our login class from part 1, and then this was our login test class from part 1. This is actually our part 2 messages test class, which tests all of our methods that have been in the messages class. Yeah, and all of these run 100%. Let's just do one for example. And as we can see, it runs 100%. Okay, now let us get into the actual running of our POE so we can see how part 2 works. Here we can see this is our part 1 prompts that ask the user to create an account. So for the sake of part 2, we actually don't have an account, so we will make one now with the correct parameters. Here you can see we're just entering a number in. That's correct. All of the information that we've entered in is correct. It says we meet the requirements and we have successfully been registered. Now we are seeing the part 2 portion of our code, where we are actually using the login application. So yes, we would like to log in, and as you can see, it checks if we can match our username and password. For the sake of understanding if the code works or not, you're going to enter the wrong username and the wrong password, and obviously it says your login details are not correct. Try again. This prohibits us from using the application. So now we are going to actually create, or input rather, the correct information. And now we can see our login details were matched and we are able to use the application. So it gives us the features of the app, which is send messages, show recently sent messages, and quit. So let us just enter an option that's not there, for instance, like option 6. Obviously, we don't have an option 6, so it does not allow us to do anything. It just brings us back to the option menu. So let us use option 1, send messages. It says, please enter the number of messages you would like to send. We would like to send 3 today. And then obviously we're going to try send it to someone, so we need their number. Okay, now it's asking us to please enter our message. We're going to say, hi, Mike. And then as we can see, it says message accepted because it's less than 250 characters. And now it asks us what we would like to do with this message. So for this message, we're going to actually send it. And as you can see, it says message successfully sent. And then we have the message information, which is the randomly generated ID, the hash, the cell number we are sending it to, and the actual message sent. And now we are on the second message. Let us type in dinner with a question mark. But now we're thinking we don't want to really send this message, so let's disregard the message. So we'll press 0 as it asks us to. And as you can see, the message was successfully deleted and no message information was provided. Now for the last message, we're going to say, bye Mike. And obviously it asks us what we'd like to do with this message. We're going to send this message. And then we can see this is the total number of messages that was sent. And this is obviously the message information, where we can see this was actually the second message, and this is the ID, the number, and the message. And now it obviously brings us back all the way to the option menu / the main features of the app. So let us pick option 2. It says this feature is still in development, coming soon as per the rubric. Now we're going to press option 3, which is to quit the application. And there we can see it says, okay, thank you for visiting our app, build success. The program is now over. Okay, now we can see that the program runs properly and all that jazz. Now I'm just going to show you how the JSON file looks. So we're going to right click over here. We're going to open in system. And we can see storage. This is the file that was created. Now obviously we're going to be seeing a lot of other messages because I've created this thing before. So obviously there was a lot of previous messages, but as you know, we sent 3 messages, which was hi Mike, dinner, and bye Mike. So as you can see, that method works effectively, as well as the imports work effectively, as they were all written to this JSON file. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you guys for tuning in with Assignments with Leshay. Pillay, I will see you on the next one. Bye.